Evaluation 7. Looking back at your preliminary task, what do you feel you have learned in the progression from it to the full product? Before I started to plan and create my music magazine, I carried out a preliminary task. This task was to create a front cover and contents page for a college magazine. This was to get us used to using software such as Photoshop and Quartz in time for the final magazine product. When I created the front cover and contents page for the preliminary task, I didn't know a lot about the technologies I was using. This is evident in the products as they seem very basic and less realistic than the final music magazine. Looking back at the front cover I created for the college magazine, I think it is plain as it only has a few cover lines and it doesn't have many banners that are important convention magazines. Also, the images on the magazine aren't edited as I didn't have the knowledge of enhancing and airbrushing images on Photoshop at the time of this task. I found that in my final product I had used more complex tools such as the magnetic lasso tool and the feathering tool to edit my main image rather than just creating text on top of the image. I believe I have improved in the technology aspect of the product of these magazines, as the main music magazine looks a lot more realistic in the use of Photoshop and Quartz in comparison to the preliminary task, which appears basic and doesn't feature a lot of generic conventions in magazine. I also created a double-page spread for my music magazine, which I feel I wouldn't have been able to create at the time for the preliminary task, as I didn't have much experience of using these editing softwares. In my work, I have seen a noticeable progression. Firstly, I have found that my understanding of the generic convention of medium text has grown. This is done by the research of the audience which I wish to aim at. When I carried out the task for the college magazine, I didn't have a specific target audience. The only people I was targeting were college students. I didn't know their interests, hobbies, or what things they enjoy doing. With this in mind, I struggled to make the magazine appealing to students, as it wasn't specific to what they were interested in, as it was aimed to a wide range of students. This is evident by the bright colours I've used in the college magazine to appeal to young people as it is modern. However, it didn't focus in detail with their hobby. However, in my music magazine task, I found that I have progressed significantly, as the target audience is specific and the majority of the audience will have the same interest and taste in music as they're part of the indie subculture. I researched the genre of indie and rock in depth, giving me a better idea of how to appeal to them and make the magazine seem interesting and appealing to them. I also researched the generic conventions of rock and indie music magazines, such as Kerrang and NME, to give me an idea of how to create my magazine, as it has the same target audience as these magazines. This is evident in the final product, as the colours used, such as red and black, and the models used in the magazine, portray the indie subculture, rather than a range of college students like my preliminary task. I also believe the contents pages of the preliminary task and the final product differ in many ways, as I had done more research on the audience I was aiming at for the main music magazine. I featured more content that included famous bands and events that they would be interested in as the indie subculture. However, in my preliminary task, I found that I only included college and education-related subjects, which many teenagers stereotypically aren't interested in. About the process of my coursework, I believe I have improved from the preliminary task by learning more about generic conventions and the audience I was aiming at, and also improving technology skills.